Nobody noticed Miss Carr when she first walked into Greenwood High. She was quiet, barely 5'2", with large glasses and a stack of books hugged tightly to her chest. Her soft voice and gentle demeanor made students assume she'd be a pushover. She was the new math teacher, fresh out of grad school, still carrying that hopeful spark in her eyes, the kind that hadn't been dimmed by the system yet. But by lunchtime on her first day, that spark had flickered. It started with whispers. "She's a nerd. She probably sleeps with her calculator. She's so small, I bet she cries if you just yell at her." And then came the real test. 3 seniors, Brad, Mason, and Tyler, known around the school for pushing their weight and entitlement, decided to have some fun. It was during lunch in the empty hallway just outside the staff lounge. Miss Carr was trying to fix a jammed copier, humming a little under her breath, when the boys crept up behind her. "Hey, Teach," Brad drawled, snatching her glasses off her face. "You dropped your confidence somewhere. Want us to help you find it?" The other 2 laughed, egging him on. Miss Carr turned, startled, squinting without her glasses. "Please return those," she said, her voice soft but steady. Mason sneered. "What if we don't? What are you going to do? Solve an equation at us?" They surrounded her. She backed, against the lockers, but Mason shoved her shoulder hard, and she stumbled. "Oops," he said mockingly. And then, as if it was the most natural thing in the world, Brad pushed her, hard, into the lockers. Her books scattered. Her elbow hit metal. Her breath caught. It was then that something changed. Miss Carr stood up slowly. She adjusted her disheveled hair, bent to pick up her glasses, and placed them calmly back on her face. "I asked you." "Nicely," she said, her voice still calm, but now laced with something deeper. "But since you insist—" Brad barely had time to smirk before he found himself flying backward into the lockers with a loud clang. Mason blinked, and then Miss Carr grabbed his arm, twisted, and dropped him to the floor in a move so fast it looked unreal. Tyler lunged, only to be flipped effortlessly over her shoulder and onto the cold hallway tiles. The hallway fell silent except for the groans of the 3 boys on the floor. Miss Carr straightened her cardigan. "Black belt, 3rd degree, Judo. Now, do you want to return my glasses or shall I take those back too? See, try it." News of what happened traveled faster than wildfire. By the next day, every student at Greenwood High had heard the story. Some said she'd taken down 5 guys. Others swore she'd flown through the air like a superhero. But the truth? The truth was more powerful than fiction. In the staff room, veteran teachers exchanged looks. Principal McDougal called her in for a meeting, not to scold, but to express concern over the situation. "I just defended myself," she said simply. "I gave them a chance to walk away." He nodded slowly. "And you'll likely be a legend by next week." But legend status didn't make life easier right away. Some students were in awe. Others resented her, calling her a show-off. And the 3 boys? Suspended, yes. But their parents were livid. Brad's mother accused Miss Carr of assaulting children. She faced meetings, investigations, and sleepless nights. There were moments when she sat alone in her tiny apartment, staring at her Judo medals, wondering if she had made a mistake choosing this profession. She had always wanted to teach. Math wasn't just numbers to her, it was beauty, logic, poetry. But the ugliness of this experience clouded everything. Still, she returned. Each day, she taught quadratic equations and fractions. She stayed after school to help struggling students. And slowly, something changed. One morning, as she walked into class, she found a small envelope on her desk. Inside was a note. "Thank you for standing up. For yourself. For all of us who couldn't. M." Later that week, a student stayed after class and whispered, "I used to think I had to take the bullying, but now I'm joining the self-defense club." And then, the real shift, when one of the bullies, Mason, returned after his suspension. He walked into class, head down. Miss Carr paused, expecting defiance, but he quietly placed her glasses on her desk. "I fixed the arm. It was bent after, you know. I'm sorry, Miss Carr." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Apology accepted. Now can you solve this equation?" He tried. He stumbled. But she helped him, patiently, kindly. The school eventually saw her not just as the teacher who threw the bullies, but as someone stronger than she looked in every way that mattered. A quiet warrior who stood for herself not with violence, but with boundaries, respect, and incredible courage. She was no longer invisible. The very hallway where she was shoved became the site of a mural months later. Students painted it as a surprise. It showed a woman standing tall, her shadow behind her shaped like a lioness. At the bottom, the words, "Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it teaches math."